proves there is an agenda against the Indiana Fever. There is an attack agenda.
Fresh footage just dropped online, and it's spreading like wildfire, faster than a buzzer beater from half court.
Te-Hina Paopao, she hacked Caitlin Clark. Her arm is like being grabbed by Te-Hina Paopao, and she does take it off.
And then when the refs don't call the bear hug,
one of the worst missed calls I think I've ever seen in basketball.
This is another year and another case of WNBA referees not making the right calls when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
This is undeniable slow-motion footage showing that Caitlin Clark was intentionally targeted by the Atlanta Dream, not in a tough defensive way, but more like they were testing the limits of the rules before anyone caught on. And the refs didn't just overlook it, they almost seemed to endorse it. Share your thoughts on this.
Let's watch the play here.
To reset things.
As you can see, she dribbles over to the wing, pushes off a little bit, and hits that three. Now, if you slow things down and if you actually go frame by frame, you can see that Paopao had two hands on Caitlin. It wasn't just a one-hand hand check. She was kind of grabbing her with two hands.
In a sequence that resembled wrestling more than basketball, Clark was held, embraced, and even body-checked, jersey grabs, hip locks, the whole package. It wasn't just a single aggressive play. It was a series of cheap shots on a highlight reel. And amid all this chaos, what did the officials do? They seemed to take a break right there on the court, eyes skyward and whistles nowhere in sight. It couldn't have been more poorly officiated if it had been scripted.
This is some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen to not call a defensive foul here. Like, this is not just a hand check, this is a double jersey grab.
WNBA referees that's making it so damn hard for them to make the right calls at the right moment.
But here's the part that truly defies logic. The internet is blaming Caitlin. Instead of supporting a player who was being used as a human punching bag, online trolls showed up like it was their Super Bowl. They claimed she pushed off, that she initiated the contact. Really? If grabbing someone's jersey with both hands is now considered defense, then someone needs to overhaul the entire basketball rulebook.
She's going up against Paopao and she does a step back three, she hits it, but the internet is going wild for this because they are complaining about her pushing off with her left arm.
If you support Caitlin Clark, subscribe our channel and comment "CC is the GOAT" down below. Let's analyze the moment that's now etched into every fan's memory. Caitlin Clark, who moves with the precision and speed of a guided missile whenever she charges the basket, was going head-to-head with Te-Hina Paopao. However, this wasn't just solid defense, it was a one-woman destruction mission. Paopao wasn't maintaining a proper stance, she lunged forward as if Clark had just snatched the last cookie. She grabbed Clark's jersey with both hands, almost as if she was attempting to stop a runaway train.
Paopao is on her, Paopao grabs her hip. You see here, so Caitlin's trying to blow by Te-Hina Paopao. Like, Te-Hina Paopao is not a good enough defender to play flat like this. Two hands on Caitlin Clark's jersey, then she goes around the hip. Caitlin shoots from so far back. Oh my god.
Alright, a foul is probably on its way, nothing. The officials stay silent. But then it gets even more intense. Clark, trying to create space, slightly extends her arm, a common move for any guard under intense pressure, especially when the defender is already off balance. It's not a shove, not an elbow, just a normal separation move. Yet, somehow, that's what everyone chooses to focus on. Not the double-handed hold, not the obvious body bump, just that small arm movement. And suddenly, she's cast as the villain of the play.
It's not an offensive foul, and if it's an offensive foul, the offensive foul comes way after the defensive foul. Even if it wasn't for the hand, I don't think that that's enough of a push-off to call an offensive foul, especially when the defensive player is off balance.
Watch it again in slow motion. Clark was already past the defender before any contact occurred. She had the position, the speed, and the momentum. But thanks to what can only be described as wrestling tactics, she didn't get the foul she deserved. Instead of sympathy, she faced criticism and slander.
This happens a lot. There's a lot of times that guards are working the defenders off of them, especially if a defender has a hand on their side, on their jersey, on their arm, anything. You are allowed to kind of swipe and get the defenders off of you.
It's unbelievable. Let's discuss the hypocrisy. Last season, the prevailing narrative was that Caitlin needed to toughen up. Every time she was knocked down, the response was a shrug and a welcome to the W. Remember when Gino said this?
And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. You know, Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement.
However, now that she's figured out how to utilize her body to endure the hits, the criticism has shifted. It's now being claimed that she's too physical. So, which is it? You can't label her as too weak for the League One moment and then criticize her for pushing back the next.
So there's a hot topic going on right now. Caitlin Clark says she got cheap shotted against the Sky. I mean, throughout the season, she's been getting beat up. Hard screens, elbows, knocked down.
This isn't about a single play or a single player, it's an ongoing pattern. Clark isn't receiving superstar treatment or favorable calls, she's being targeted and singled out. The troubling part is that this behavior is becoming normalized. Every time referees ignore fouls or let rough play go, it sends a clear message: it's acceptable to play aggressively against her, just don't let her score. Recall the incident with Alyssa Thomas, where a similar foul wasn't even classified as a flagrant. This consistent inconsistency highlights a troubling trend of unfair treatment that undermines her presence on the court.
We look here at the heavy contact.
Meanwhile, Clark continues to play through everything, no complaints, no tantrums, just scoring. She's being hacked, hammered, yet still dishing out assists as if it's a free clinic. If you ask me, that's not just talent, it's resilience and mental toughness at its finest.
Caitlin is past Te-Hina Paopao here. Te-Hina Paopao is stopping her with her arms. Her arms like this on the jersey, stopping her. There is an arm extension. Because she's in such bad defensive position, is already, look at the way her feet is before the contact. She's throwing herself out of the play anyway.
The most frustrating aspect is that this entire discussion should have focused on safeguarding the league's brightest emerging talent. Instead, the conversation has been taken over by armchair referees and bitter Twitter critics. Paopao was clearly outmatched and resorted to grabbing and pulling in an attempt to defend himself, yet somehow Clark is the one being criticized and scrutinized. It's completely unjust and nonsensical.
Caitlin Clark, her arm is like being grabbed by Te-Hina Paopao and she does take it off.
She's trying to gain separation to shoot a three.
But I've never, like, this is some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen to not call a defensive foul here. This is a vet move by Paopao. I have to say, this is a vet move by Paopao.
Honestly, the league really needs Caitlin Clark. She's more than just a player, she's a driving force that attracts fans, boosts ratings, and sells jerseys. The very least they can do is protect her the way they've supported every other star before her. If this kind of treatment keeps happening, the message is loud and clear: you can only shine if you do it quietly.
Oh, got it. And that's exactly how I'm feeling right now, bro. Like, at this point, watch this play, guys. No call whatsoever. No call whatsoever. But they will call Caitlin Clark getting a technical. They will call Caitlin Clark getting...
If you truly believe in fairness, consistency, and holding everyone to the same standards, then now is the time to raise your voice. Caitlin Clark doesn't require favoritism or special treatment, she simply deserves the game to be officiated properly and fairly. Let's stand up for integrity and ensure the game is played with honesty and equality for all.
It is a mad situation just all around when it comes to Caitlin Clark, because it's very clear that she is way stronger.
Caitlin has always been an underrated athlete. She's the fastest player in the league to me with the ball in her hands, and she was the best guard finishing around the rim last year. She shot a bunch of it, and it's been the whole preseason where it looks to me like on her deepest shots, she is just getting them off like they're nothing.
Let's be honest, what we're seeing is blatant double standards right in front of us. When other players use physicality, throwing elbows, pulling on jerseys, applying aggressive pressure, they are praised for their toughness and hailed as gritty, relentless defenders doing whatever it takes to win. Their physicality is celebrated as part of their tenacity and competitive spirit. However, when Caitlin Clark employs A shoulder to create space or extends an arm to break free from a defender's grasp, suddenly it turns into a controversy. The moment this happens, the rulebook is suddenly invoked, and officials start scrutinizing her moves. But this isn't really about protecting the integrity of the game, it's about managing the narrative and controlling public perception. Caitlyn has become the WNBA's biggest star, drawing crowds, increasing TV ratings, and fueling conversations everywhere. With that level of prominence, she inevitably becomes a target, not only from opponents on the court but also from critics and detractors beyond. Her visibility has made her a lightning rod, and the double standards are clear for all to see.
Because nobody else is shooting from this distance regularly, and she's doing it with a flick of the wrist. How easily it looks like she's shooting those threes and hitting those threes in the clip that she's doing it. You know, going to the rack, all these various things that show she's even stronger than she was a year ago. And you see it in the strong numbers. I mean, 13 points, 6 boards, 7 assists in 23 minutes of action.
Let's be honest, if this same situation had happened to players like Sabrina Ionescu or Kelsey Plum, the conversation would likely focus on how the referees missed an obvious foul. The discussion would revolve around missed calls and the lack of free throws awarded. However, because it's Clark, the narrative shifts entirely. Suddenly, she's being portrayed as a dirty player, and the situation feels more personal. This isn't just inconsistent officiating, it seems intentional. What's even more perplexing is that, despite being repeatedly fouled and physically challenged on the court, she is seldom rewarded with a whistle. Throughout the entire preseason, she didn't even get to the free throw line once, not once. Think about that, 0 attempts from the free throw line despite constant contact. This isn't about a single missed call anymore, it's about a pattern that can't be ignored. The trend suggests bias or favoritism, raising serious questions about the fairness of officiating. It's frustrating to see such disparities, and it underscores the need for consistency and impartiality in how referees handle these situations.
One of the biggest hurdles for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever last season was the WNBA referees. Now, the front office made it their business to revamp the team, bring in more aggressive players to help them get further in the WNBA season and possibly win a WNBA championship. But before any of that stuff can even get done, we have to take a look at the misguided missile that can destroy everything this upcoming season, and that is the WNBA referees and this secret agenda.
There's a clear reluctance to let Caitlin Clark just play her game freely, without every move being scrutinized or exaggerated. That's the real problem, she's constantly under a microscope, and her actions are often blown out of proportion.
Year and another case of WNBA referees dropping the ball, not making the right calls when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Bruh, how we one game away for the start of the season and we have already Caitlin Clark getting fouled extremely hard. Look back at the referee like, damn.
Looking ahead, what implications does this have for Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, and the league as a whole? This situation goes beyond a simple missed call or questionable officiating. It exposes a larger, troubling pattern. The league has fostered a culture that often targets its most prominent players instead of supporting and protecting them. Caitlin is no longer just an emerging talent, she has become the face of women's basketball. She's the name that casual fans recognize, the star drawing sold-out arenas and boosting TV ratings. However, this level of attention and fame doesn't come without significant sacrifices. Caitlin has had to endure relentless physical contact, constant criticism, and insufficient protection on the court. Her resilience was evident during the Atlanta Dream game when she was physically draped over by opponents, yet she maintained her composure. Meanwhile, the referee stood by, seemingly unwilling or unable to intervene. This underscores a broader issue within the sport, a need for better safeguarding of players and a shift away from a culture that unfairly targets its brightest stars rather than uplifting them.
The WNBA referees are terrible. The one-sided calls against Caitlin are so obvious and disgusting. They're ruining the game. If the referees do not get this whole situation together with this Caitlin Clark thing, fans is finna stop watching this sport.
But she didn't lose her composure. She didn't argue or lash out. She simply kept going, continued making plays. That step-back three she sank amid the chaos wasn't just a highlight, it was a powerful statement. It demonstrated resilience, mental toughness at its best. Yet, too often, her efforts in this regard go unrecognized. The deeper concern is, how long can she shoulder this burden alone? How long can she be the star, the face, the hero, and the target, all while maintaining the high level of performance demanded by the league? The WNBA wants her to carry the torch and be the inspiration, but they often fail to protect her from the fire she faces. This imbalance creates a real risk of burnout, both physically and mentally, threatening her career and the league's future.
Highly likable. I think that lends itself to her popularity as she comes across as somebody that's really just respectful, likable. There's other players out there that just don't come across that way.
And as for the Indiana Fever, this team is still in the process of finding its footing. They are young, talented, and working to build something sustainable. Caitlin is the driving force behind their efforts, but even the most powerful engines require proper maintenance and protection. She has already shown what she's capable of, averaging 14.5 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds in limited preseason minutes, with shooting splits that clearly highlight her superstar potential. However, imagine how much more she could accomplish if she weren't constantly being shoved around like a pinball. When she fights through double teams from baseline to baseline without a single whistle, it not only hampers her performance but also slows the entire offense. It disrupts the team's rhythm and impacts every player on the court. This isn't just about individual stats. It's about the potential of the team if the game were fair and players were protected.
And took this iPhone footage of the Indiana Fever doing a workout after that game against the Atlanta Dream. And it was Caitlin, it was Brianna Turner, Jaylen Brown, and Natasha Howard. They were working out in the hallway and just doing some simple lifting. And then also you can see here Sophie Cunningham comes out of the locker room and she is wearing a boot.
And then there's the message all of this sends to the next generation. Young basketball players watching from home, kids who look up to Caitlin Clark, are paying close attention. They see her getting fouled hard, being blamed, and called out for things others often get away with. What do they learn from that? That greatness comes with a cost, that if you shine too brightly, the system won't support you. That standing out makes you vulnerable, that excellence and popularity can make you a target. This isn't the legacy the league should be shaping. The WNBA faces a crucial choice: either it backs the players who are fueling the sport's growth, or it risks alienating the stars who could elevate it to new heights. Right now, it appears as though Caitlin Clark is being penalized for her popularity, her talent, and her uniqueness. But if there's one thing we know, it's that Caitlin was made for this moment, and she's just getting started.
So in 2024, she averaged 16.5 points per game, 4 assists, 5.5 rebounds. She shot 37% from the field and 31.8% from 3. Now, if you look at her preseason in 2025, she only played 2 games in this preseason, and one was against that Brazilian national team. She played 21 minutes. She averaged 14.5 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. She shot 52.5% from the field and 50% from 3-point range.
She's not stepping back, she's evolving and growing stronger. She's discovering new ways to succeed, to lead, and to inspire others around her. She's not just enduring the challenges, she's transforming them into fuel for her fire. She's not waiting for validation from the officials or the critics, she's letting her game and her performance speak volumes. Even as she faces targeted fouls and media narratives that twist her story, she keeps showing up, stepping up, and shining brighter each time. The footage confirms what many of us already suspected: she's being singled out. But it also reveals something even more powerful: that she's still thriving, still shooting with precision, and still changing the game and culture in her own unstoppable way.
Have you guys been explicit so far about wanting to win a championship this year? And
yeah, I mean, absolutely.
What does success then look like? I mean,
a championship.
And we can't let this conversation end here. If you believe Caitlin Clark deserves equal opportunities, fair treatment, and the respect afforded to every other star in the league, then speak up. Let's ensure her name, her game, and her resilience are recognized and celebrated the way they truly deserve. Share your thoughts on the refs and the way the game is being called. It's time for change and fairness. Drop a CC in the comments below. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.